welcome to the Southbound Sports Show. I'm your host, Richie Lay, here with my co-host, Matty B. And a big NFL week. Wide receivers are on the move. So now we are at a point where I don't think it's the deadline yet, but maybe it's close. But we called it weeks ago. Davante Adams going to the Jets. Just like McCaffrey, miraculously healed. He had some issues, and now he's back. He's ready to go. He didn't really want to play for the Raiders, so they had to trade him. It's almost like, hey, let's see how far we can go with you, and then maybe we'll just go ahead and get rid of you or whatever they need to do. But that's kind of what annoys me with some of the NFL stuff, and even the NBA to a certain aspect, with players coming through and like forcing trades. Because they have to do it, right? They have to force it, and that's the only way they're going to get the buyback from the team or whatever, or like interest from other teams. And him going to the Jets, I mean, realistically, there were only two teams that popped up. The Jets, like we said, it makes sense. They fired their coach. They're all in. They have to make a move. You don't fire your coach, lose the next game. I watched a game last night. They needed to trade for a kicker instead. Doinked twice. I don't know if the other one actually hit the goalpost, but the one did. And lost the game by 3. Could have at least went to overtime. Can't get the field goal. Aaron Rodgers throws another late interception. I don't know what they're doing. Davante Adams, maybe he can get them in the end zone instead of settling for field goal tries. They had to make the move. The Saints, I thought the Saints had a better record. They seem to be trending down too. Maybe that would have worked. But Carr's hurt, isn't he?
Yes.
So why would you bring in Davante Adams for that?
But I also thought, I bet the Saints are kicking themselves now because they could have re-signed Jameis, and now he's in Cleveland, and it would have been beneficial for them to pay him to keep him as the backup.
And so that's the thing that I'm wondering, because who's even the Saints quarterback now?
Spencer Rattler.
Oh, yeah, it was Rattler, because he ran around a good bit, and I thought, because I'm in need of a quarterback for fantasy, right? I'm down bad. And so I had Aaron Rodgers picked up because Richardson's hurt. He's like never going to play. Or if he does play, is it even worth playing him? Because it's like a hip injury. He got tackled against, the Steelers. Never came back in. And then we have, what's his face? Oh, Deshaun Watson. He's dying. He's pulling the old Russell Wilson where his entire season is just going downhill and no one in the organization is stopping him. So I can't play him. It's almost like, hey, he right now is getting me tight end points. A 7 spot? Maybe you can get a 13 if he gets a touchdown. And I'm like, good grief. I told my buddy, I was like, we'll see. I'm not going to play him. I'm going to pick up Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers looked like he might have got hurt, so I think that's the only reason he was even available. And so he played okay. I don't even know how many points he got me. 13 maybe. Awesome. Great work, dude. I need Richardson back and healthy so bad for my team. And it's crazy because that's my weak link right now. Oh, other than everyone getting injured like Marvin Harrison Jr. in the first play. Or his first catch. He didn't even catch it. He goes down with a concussion. And then they played it off like he could have come back in. I don't know if you saw that play. So he catches the ball, right? He was going down with the ball. Got kneed in the head. Stands up, takes a step, and falls right back down. In like a dizzy, like he was at the bar. So you know he has a concussion. 100%. And they were speculating, like, he went to the tunnel. We don't know why. I'm like, you know why? You just don't want to tell them. Because for whatever reason, they don't like when the dudes have concussions. Maybe it's like the NFL thing. But I don't know.
Well, it's almost like it's better just to say, oh, we don't know. Like, don't bring any attention to the concussion issue because that's a losing media war for them.
And that's exactly what they're doing. They don't want the word concussion even brought up at all. And it's kind of a shame, honestly, because if people do have a concussion, then they're not going to, like in youth, I mean, then they're really not going to want to get help either. Because Tua, they're talking about, the NFL is not going to keep him out. And I thought the NFL should 100% keep him out. Because maybe they're trying to like force it as not an issue. If they keep letting dudes play, they need to have some regulation. That, hey, whatever, you get credit for the season for your retirement, but you just can't come back. And I know that there are people are going to say, well, you can't get like fired from your job or whatever. But yeah, people are in like operating heavy machinery, and they're like going blind. They don't let them keep driving. Like, well, his choice. Can you imagine? Like, oh, he drives the propane truck in town. He's going blind a little bit, but it's okay. He really likes his job. He doesn't want to quit. People think he could be a really good driver if he could see. Like, that's what Tua is at right now. He could be really good if he could stay healthy, but he really loves playing football. The NFL could just say, hey, no. I mean, it's a sport. It's a privilege. It's a hazardous job, just like any of those other ones. You have to go through certain tests. And I know the doctors don't want to say, like, hey, whatever, they can get sued. And maybe that's the point. But, like, every person has seen him take many concussions. Just like Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, if you played that replay into a room of 10 people, 10 out of 10 are going to say, yeah, he has a concussion. No one just falls down like that. Ever. I mean, I remember I had a buddy that fell down like that in a game. I picked him up. It was like youth football. I don't remember how old we were. And I'm like, hey, you're gonna need to do this on the play. I forget, it was like a swing pass or something. He's the running back. I'm like, you're following me, and he's like, wait, what? I'm like, bro, you got a concussion. You got to get out of here. So I'm like trying to call a coach. Coach is like, oh no, he's all right. And then he just starts throwing up on the field. And I'm like, he's literally throwing up. We got to get him out of here. And then I think we had to call a timeout, or the ref called an injury timeout. I'm like, you're going to let him play? And he's like, yeah, I don't remember any of that. And I'm like, yeah. And there's some plays where I had some hits, and I don't remember what happened after. Probably like a Marvin Harrison, where it's like, I know that we watch a film, and it always sticks with me because the next play, I'm like open, and the ball comes to me. I don't even try to catch it because like I have a concussion, clearly, I think. And I'm just running like a Forrest Gump on the film. They're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't remember. I told you. I got like crushed on the play before that. You can see I'm like laying on the field. And then they're like, you know what? Let's go back to him. Go back to him. See if he got it. So that's my concussion thing. Sometimes it's up to the coaches. Sometimes up to the staff. Especially at youth. Youth doesn't have the resources. Like, there's no one saying like, yo, that kid's just running like Forrest Gump. You need to get him out of the game. Like, unless another player's like, yo, he doesn't know what's going on. He's throwing up in here. Get him off the field. They're going to watch NFL and say, like, oh, Marvin Harrison Jr. fell down. He can come back in. I can come back in. I didn't fall down. Like, it's like a drunk guy driving. I didn't fall down coming out of the bar. I could drive. Are you serious? You try to talk him out of it. Right? That's my concussion talk 101. Try to talk the guy out of it. I don't know what they're going to do. You're not going to get someone that could be concussed out of the game or whatever. But I don't even know what to say there. I really don't, because that's the point where we are at with the NFL. Like you said, I don't think they really want to draw attention to it, but at this point, they kind of have to. Like, I don't think there's any way around it. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Anything else you want to add on?
No, I think that's okay.
All right, let's see here. Let's see. So the next one, Cooper. We have Cooper going to the Bills. Kind of similar to that Adams trade, where the Bills have injuries. They're kind of falling apart. I get confused because they have John Allen. Is that the other guy? And so this is the thing I hate about ESPN. they put like, hey, Allen has a torn pec or whatever. Out for the year. I'm thinking Josh Allen. And it's like, dude, Bills Allen is very clearly not the guy you're telling me is injured. I don't even know what that guy looks like. I've heard of him. I think that he's on the Bills, right? So I almost text you, like, holy crap, the Bills have no quarterback. And then you'd have been like, what are you talking about, you idiot? But it's because I was tricked into believing that there's another Allen on that team by ESPN and their funky headlines. That's the one thing that I hate. Funky headlines or whatever. Not really sure how they can fix that or whatever. But the next one, what was the other trade that I had on here? I don't even have it up anymore. But any other trades that you saw while I looked for the last one I had?
I was so pumped to see Devontae Adams is finally healed from his hamstring injury. I was really worried it was going to be something that was going to linger for a long time. And now that he's in New York, it's magically healed.
And that's what I told you. That works out for both our fantasy teams. Aaron Rodgers now, if he has to go as my quarterback, now has a deep weapon. He can throw a few more touchdowns. And you have him back. He's not going to be hurt the rest of the year. Unless like a McCaffrey situation comes where he doesn't need to play and they can keep winning without him. And then, who knows? But
although this really sets up nice for when Aaron Rodgers just pieces out on New York at the end of the year. He's like, yeah, I'm out of here. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore.
Well, he would have to retire at that point, right?
Yeah, and I think he's probably at about that point. So it'd be perfect time to hand the reins over to Jordan Travis and let him run.
So they have Jordan Travis, right, as their backup. He's their future.
Uh-huh.
Who else? Oh, I guess they had Zach Wilson, huh? Who knows what happened to him? But we'll see if that's the route because I feel like if he doesn't win this year, he might come back for one more, though, right? I don't know how old he is. He has to be close to retire. He's playing pretty bad. He's looking like end of career bad, right?
Yeah.
Because although even Matt Stafford looked bad, he's still gone, right?
Yeah, but I feel like a lot of their pieces just were let go.
Who?
With Stafford and the Rams.
The Rams. And maybe you're right. That's the one thing where they still have Cup, though.
Well, they do, but you can't just build around one guy. It's hard to be more to the team.
It's hard to read that team. That's why I thought he would just retire, right? Because they seem like they're in a tough division. Although the toughest division has to be the NFC North. But the Rams are 1-9. Like, they're not even trying to win. I feel like Stafford, the Rams are so bad, people are forgetting that he's even in the NFL. Like, I had to question it. Like, is it still him? How do they only have one win? And there's no way for them. I mean, I guess they kind of bounce back. I mean, the Niners and Seahawks are both 500. But the Niners, people keep saying, what game did I watch? At the end of the game, whoever the commentator was, I can't remember, they put him down on the field. And he made like a 10-minute pitch on why the Niners were the best team in the NFC. And I thought, who's this for? Who are you convincing? I forget what game that was. It was just random that it was like another NFC game. I don't know if it was the Lions Cowboys, but they were talking about like, oh, some of these teams are good, but they're not Niners good. And they have a bad record, but come on. There's so much talent on that team. And it kind of reminded me of like when Ohio State fans make excuses. I thought, is now that happening in the NFL with the Niners? Is it because McCaffrey isn't playing? Then the Panthers were the greatest when he didn't play? All those years, that's the one thing that I didn't get. Like, McCaffrey was around. He could have played. They never had him ready to go. I mean, I guess they had him ready to go. What do I know? But we'll see. The other thing that I talked about the Lions, Aiden Hutchinson, my boy, breaking his lower leg, both bones, they said. They had to put a rod in. Dude, prayers go out to him. He was having a hell of a year. That one game, he had like more pressures than like the other team had in the first half. Like whatever game was like the third game of the year, he had more pressures in the first half than the team they were playing had the entire season, like so far. It was like some outrageous stat like that, and I thought that's insane that he's playing that good because Ohio State and Michigan State fans said he was a bust. Right? They talk about it all the time. He only knew the play because Connor Stallions was talking to him. Which I listened to the rest of the Connor Stallions interview, and I don't think we talked about this on the show last week. He was tipping off the Chiefs, Frank Clark. Maybe we did talk about it a little bit. But he was tipping him off to win the Super Bowl. And then he was breaking down film for like other people. Just doing, and that kind of brings the speculation that I had talked about weeks and even years ago. People were saying, how's he getting his money? It sounds like he was just scouting on the side. But he was doing it in a way where he's just doing everything by spreadsheets. And he's calling people out and just saying like, yo, this team, they're doing, every time it's like third and short, they're doing a screen. And that's kind of stuff that you can just tell an NFL guy and he'll know like the situation. And like, all right, I'll read screen. And I saw it happen in the Jets game last night. It was like third and short. And he tried to run a screen to Breece Hall. And I thought the reason it stuck with me is because it was brilliant. It was covered, but they had a back follow-up screen, a backup screen with the tight end on the right side. And he was able to almost get the first down. And I thought that's a good play in the NFL. Because even if the guys know it, it was kind of like an impromptu. The tight end was just there, so Aaron Rodgers threw it to him. And of course the Jets lost, so it doesn't really matter. But that's the kind of stuff that some great quarterbacks are able to do. A lot of them just see that the first screen's covered and throw it away, or who knows, try to take a sack. I see a lot of guys do that. Kind of like some of the college guys I've seen. Was it Tennessee a couple weeks ago? The guy ran out of bounds instead of trying to throw a Hail Mary on the last play of the game. Like just casually running out of bounds. It's like such a Cowboys move. Jerry Jones probably salivating when he saw that. And at least he didn't get hurt. Could have got hurt if he threw it. How could I sell jerseys if the guy's hurt? I mean, Caleb Williams has looked good running around too, and that's what I think. Like the Bears
Priorities.
Have to be so nervous. You have to be so nervous like every time he's running around because he's doing good enough to sell jerseys. And they're like, please don't call it Kyler Murray yourself. What are you doing out there? Please, just don't get hurt. So, I don't know. What else do you got for the NFL this week?
I mean, as far as the Steelers, I was surprised at how many field goals they kicked.
Every time I still think of Rick coming on the show complaining about Boswell, how he's garbage, how they need to get a new kicker. And yet he's still around, dude, 2024. Right? Isn't he their kicker still?
The Boz.
Lighting it up in fantasy, too. He is one of the higher ones, which is kind of surprising sometimes, but I never know how to read that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this, too. I don't know if it's the knock on Arthur Blank or not Arthur Blank, the Steelers offensive coordinator, but it's like, what are you doing? You had Bijan Robinson, and you didn't use him in Atlanta, and now you're in Pittsburgh, and it's like George Pickens, he could potentially be a really good receiver. Let's not throw him the ball. That'll be a good way to use his talents. It's like, what are you doing? Come on, pal.
Well, Pickens, I think they have some type of issue with him, right? Like there's something going on where they just don't want to get him the ball because I don't think they want to pay him, right? Do you agree?
Yeah.
Because to me, there's something else going on here. Otherwise, I don't know if it's contract work, if it's what, but there's animosity there that they have him come in that, he got fined because he had like explicit words on his eye black and things like that. And it just makes me think that they don't like him. I don't know if he's like a cancer in the locker room or what, but come on. I really don't know what they can do with him, right? The offense doesn't need him. Yeah, probably because they have no one else. But I thought my guy, Roman Wilson, was supposed to play. Did he even play? He didn't get any catches.
Well, I think that was like one of his first games that he was eligible to play.
Yeah, so he probably didn't get many routes, if that. I didn't get to watch half the game. I had to take a buddy to the airport. So that's the kind of thing that I wonder, like going forward, are they going to be able to plug some of these holes at just playmakers? They talk about like, oh yeah, they might start Russell Wilson and whatever, and I'm like, why? Do you see that up there?
I mean, there was talk of it, but I don't see how you do that. Like unless I could, the only way that I could see it is realistically if Fields was playing so poorly, but that's not been the case. So I almost feel like you have to just roll with them with Fields because long term that's a route that's going to potentially pay dividends because if he is younger and is doable, like if he's serviceable long term for you, you have a younger quarterback that you can make do. Like if you have Wilson, even if he's playing semi close to prime football, you're still looking at having to replace him within the next 2 or 3 years.
And that's where, if you're in the playoffs this year, or at least in the hunt like they are right now, I think you have to play Fields. Am I right?
Yeah.
Because why would you take a guy and crush his confidence? Because if Wilson comes in and doesn't work out, then you're a lose-lose. Like there's nowhere you can go. You can't go up because you already like broke the locker room or whatever. It seems like the guys are playing hard. You have the vet. I think you eat the cash and you kind of hope that Fields doesn't get hurt. But if he does, you got to just keep Russell Wilson happy. If he starts to be a cancer, he'll move on. I mean, I saw the same thing with at Michigan with Cade McNamara. Win the Big Ten. I mean, Russell Wilson didn't play for the Steelers, but whatever. Let's say he has a Super Bowl, so kind of similar. Supposed to be the guy, has an injury. It's nagging. Doctors didn't want to clear him. Went and got a second opinion or whatever. I can't remember all the details. And then didn't want to be in a battle with JJ. JJ's playing. He didn't stick around. I mean, I don't know if JJ ever got hurt or whatever. But Russell Wilson, I feel like the same situation is going to play out. The backup comes in, keeps winning enough that you have to ride the hot hand. You can't go back, even though you see the success with that guy. You just can't go back. What if the other guy is better? Especially at this age right now.
Well, and I feel like for all of the positive things that you're hearing about Russell Wilson being a team first guy, I don't see him being that, like, to be wanting to be put in this tough situation. You know what I mean?
And of course, no one wants to be in that situation.
Like,
I go bad for both guys. Like, they knew they were going to be battling. And then was the injury that bad that he couldn't play?
I almost feel like they were both brought in, and I think Pittsburgh thought, well, Fields has just been shell-shocked from being in Chicago and having to run for his life the last couple of years, that let him sit and watch, let him play behind Wilson. Wilson, had a struggle season in Denver last year that we can kind of, see what exactly we need to build around Fields. Use Wilson in the short term, that he can bridge the gap, keep us at 500, and we're going to be all right. But I think what ended up happening was with Wilson getting hurt, it gave just enough justification to start Fields, they've been playing decent. So it's like you're almost in a Drew Brees, Tom Brady type deal where you're like, all right, well, let's just ride the younger hand, knowing that you still have that veteran in the fold if things go sideways or if the younger guy gets hurt or what have you.
Yeah, that's my thing. I was wondering. Well, I guess I said my prediction early in the year was that Russell Wilson would start and then Fields would take over, like they're grooming him. They want him to be the guy, and that's why I said now you can't reverse course. You can't do the opposite. Put Wilson in, unless you think, well, Richie made some good points about Wilson only being good for 5 games. We put him in for the playoffs and the Steelers win the Super Bowl. Ching ching, like they solved the issue. But again, he hasn't played for so long, and he is old. So is he going to be able to do that? I don't know. Like, look at Aaron Rodgers flailing around. I think, and plus, if you do that, then you're going to crush Fields' like mental game. You brought it up like he looked shell shocked. You're right. He was. Now he's winning. You're going to bench him? He's done. He's going to crumble. Or the team's going to crumble. Like, if you're, whatever they are, like, they're going to keep winning. Or what are they, 4-2 now? So if you put in Wilson and he loses 2 games, and you go to 500, what do you do?
Well,
you almost have to be whatever. Like,
and I think that's the situation that they're in. Like, that's why you're in a really tough spot because you're in a I can't go back type deal.
Yeah, that's what stinks because if you end up with having like a 5 seed or 4 seed type season, and then how are you ready for the future? Like, to me, I don't know what else they could do, like, going forward, if they want to try to go ahead and plan for the long term. You still need to get some playmakers in. I know you've been calling them to make some moves. Doesn't seem like it's going to happen. I mean, I doubt, like, the Browns are going to give them Cooper, and we already said Devontae Adams wanted to go play with a familiar quarterback. He didn't want another situation like the Raiders. So, I don't know what else is available. I think the other move that we had on here, Akers, did I say that one? He went somewhere. But, like, that's not enough to move the Steelers.
He went to the Vikings.
Yeah, he went to the Vikings. Are already good enough as it is. They're probably the best team in the NFC, to be honest. And so, did they really need him back? Not as a Packers fan now. It could have gone anywhere else. But that's where. What do you think about the Eagles coach like yelling at fans? Think that's a good move?
It's never good to be yelling at fans.
Have you ever tried it though?
No.
Well, maybe you would like it.
Well, you might like it, but
I'm just giving you ideas, dude. Like, yo, knock it off. And then the guy's like, what? Was he yelling at me? And then he'd be embarrassed and he would go home. Right? Or you just enrage him. Are they drinking at your games? Not legally?
Well, they have to read like the sportsmanship rules, so like I'm pretty sure that would be really heavily frowned upon.
Well, not if you said it in like a positive way. Like, hey buddy, go home and write some of those in a journal. I'd love to read them later. And then they're like, that coach is hanging out with that fan. I mean, maybe they wouldn't like you interacting like that. But if you're just over the top positive, hey, great idea. Maybe I won't call a run again. Perfect. Then that guy, that would shell shock him, I think. Oh, no, it's Sirianni. He was telling him not to boo. He needs to say it in a positive way. Like, hey, man, we really love the support. I'd love to hear some more cheering, though. Or if you could just do some louder cheers. It just sounds like you're doing a low voice there. Like, oh. Then the guy would be like, no, I'm booing you. But you pretend he's cheering you. Yeah, keep it up. Let's go. Cheer us on. That's what he should have did. Maybe the booze would have been louder, but I don't know. Or he could have just put a tweet out after the game. Like, wow, we're letting a lot of loser fans in from other teams. All I hear is boos. And then their team would be like, that's not the other fans, that's us. And then they would make them look like jerks, right? That's what he should have did. If in college a coach would say that, right? Like, hey, our own fans got to step up. I'm hearing a lot of boos. Like, well, we can't let the opposing team take over. It's really hurting our team. And then the home fans are like, no, I was booing. That was me. Like, that's something I would do. It's like, no, that was me. I'm a home fan. I was booing you.
No, it was me. You're doing El Stinkola.
But yeah, you should try it. Pump the crowd up. I always see coaches on the sideline telling the crowd to get loud. Like, get loud. It's third down. And even the announcer says, like, third down. And then they play the third down music, and then it's a win-win. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, the NFL, there's like, it's a little bit more sterile. It's not as bad as NBA where it's like you're at a club and they're like pumping you over the DJ over the top. But it's not like college where sometimes you can't even hear the announcer. Although it is getting worse, college, when they have the light shows now and the DJ like remixing stuff during the game. I'm like, some teams I'm like, good grief. Other teams, I watched a game at a bar on Saturday, the North Carolina game. Stadium was empty. And I thought, man, in the NFL, if it was this empty, this is the North UNC college game, that they would probably do something. And then fast forward, the Panthers game came on, and the stadium was the same amount of empty. And I thought, what are they going to do? Like, they have to do something. UNC, people were talking at the bar, they're like, yo, can't wait till we join the Big Ten and actually play some good games, get some fans in the stands. I was thinking, bro, that's going to become Michigan South or Ohio State South very quickly. What you're not going to just magically have more fans. They don't want to come watch you get your ass whooped. Like, are you serious? That's not how buying tickets work. They're going to pay the ticket, season price, and then they're going to flip them. Like, I know a bunch of people that get season tickets and then sell the biggest games. And they're like, hey, you want to go to a game with me? We're playing Washington Tech State Agricultural. I'm like, who even is that? I'm like, I don't know, but that's the ticket I kept. I sold all the big ones. How'd they make some money? I'm like, all right. You do you. I don't know why you would go through the hassle of that. Because sometimes they're like, yeah, I made $100. I thought, how long did it take you to put all that together? A couple hours? What's the hourly rate on that return? That's what I wonder. But maybe with SeatGeek, it's not that hard anymore. Maybe I'm just sounding old. It's not like they have to go to the corner, right? Hold their tickets up. I got two, baby. I know. I remember growing up, people were like, "Hey, those guys could be selling fake tickets." So the first time I had my brother with me, I don't know, I was like a teenager. I told the guy, "These real tickets." I'm like, I better get in the stadium. I'm going to be right back here to whoop your ass. And my brother's like, whoa, calm down. He's like, I don't even know how old he was. He's like half my age. So he's like, don't do that. We're going to get into a fight with some ticket guy. I'm like, I'm not getting burned here, bro. And then I wonder how many other people went through the same issue. And how do you know if the guy's legit or not? Because then I scared the guy. He flashed his badge to show that he was like a stadium employee. And then I thought, wait, you're an actual employee? Why are you out here scalping tickets? It rocked my world as a teenager. Because then I thought, they're not scalpers. These are just, like, it was a Major League game. And so what, Major League Baseball tells the guys, like, yo, I need you to dress like a homeless man and sell some of these tickets. Like, is that what Bob Nutting's doing? Right? Like, come on. Hey, I need to get rid of these seats out here. Go heckle some people on the roads. You're gonna pretend like you're homeless though, so that they're not 100% sure. But then if they hassle you, just flash your stadium badge. Because then I thought, there's no way this poorly dressed man has a fake badge that he made. Where did he make that? Kinko's? He walks in and they're like, you can't use our bathroom. He's like, no, I'm not here for the bathroom. I need a stadium card made. No, we can help you with that. That's like, I don't even understand. Like, that was whenever I realized that it doesn't matter if the team wins. They don't even care. They'll sell the tickets to anybody. Fan, no fan. Whatever. Like, just cheap tickets. Like, they just want to get rid of them. And I guess it worked. for baseball, right? I mean, Pirates had fans in the stands. I haven't heard of any other protests against Bob Nutting, but I mean, the playoffs are still going on. Tigers lost, so I really don't care anymore. It's like the Yankees and the Dodgers are two of the biggest spenders, and they could potentially meet in the World Series, and I would be like, eh. I don't think the normal fan wants to see that. But do they want to see a team from Ohio to change their name out of pressure from political parties in there either? Nah.
Well, I think it's funny that you have these teams that caved, and then you have Washington where they're like, we want to change our name back after just being like the random Washington football team to now the Commander. Now they sold all this Commander stuff. They're like, but actually, we still like the Redskins.
Are they going back though? Did they say that?
They didn't say that they were officially coming back, but I think if enough pressure is put on them, it could happen.
I've seen tons of Redskin stuff because, like, down here, before the Panthers came, a lot of old, I guess I don't want to say old people that lived here before the Panthers were put in, so guys that have been here their whole life, they still set up for Redskins stuff. So there's like a lot of Redskins bars in the area, and they didn't update the Commanders. Like, they still set up the tailgate, and it's like a Redskins tailgate. And I'm just wondering, like, I guess if you had all the stuff and you've been doing it for years, why would you just change? Right? Same team. They were watching the same game. I mean, you still see people with like those 90s jackets. And you're like, it looks like they're covered in like ice from the snow. Like they have that black look to them, like the cars get. And you're like, how many years in the winter have you been wearing that jacket? Are you afraid to put it in the wash? It'll fall apart? That's what a Redskins tailgate looked like to me when I saw one. I just saw one over the weekend. That's why it reminded me. Because I didn't know what was going on at first. And my buddy's like, what is this? We went to like a Bills bar, and then there's guys setting up for like a Redskins tailgate. I was like, yeah, I don't know what's going on here. And then the one place said Steelers watch party, and there was like no Carolina watch parties at all. But there were 3 other watch parties going on. And I thought, what a crazy time. No wonder the Panthers Stadium's empty. They're not getting the same type of watch party action over here. But that's part of the blackout thing, though, that I always bring up. You don't let people watch the local team. They're going to start cheering for some other random team that's on. That's why I really like the Big Ten TV deal. But before we get into that, the college, John, do you have anything else you want to talk about for the NFL?
No.
All right, let's get into college here. We'll see how long stuff I go. But the first thing is the Ohio State-Oregon game, big time. And you have teams like this now with the expanded Big Ten. Before, there really weren't too many games like this. And now with the expanded SEC, Texas killed Oklahoma. I've been calling that. Texas is clearly the best team in the country right now. There's no doubt in my mind. Oregon struggled with like Idaho or Idaho State. We still don't know on Ohio State either. Ohio State could have won the game, but Ryan Day, coaching in big games, man, he's just awful. I don't know what it is. It's not like he's tightening up. It's not like he's pulling a Harbaugh brothers where they're like, you know what? We're going to do the most vanilla stuff of all time. We're just going to go ahead and tighten up and see what happens. Where Ryan Day, like, put some new wrinkles in, but it's always like they're making bonehead mistakes. So, like, the defense gives up hundreds of yards. And I've said it all along, like with Michigan, all I wanted them to do, this is like way back when we started the podcast, I told you, all I want Michigan to do is do a bend but don't break defense, like Iowa. And then they did that, and they won the national championship. And Ohio State watched that, and they thought, we're not going to try that. Bend but don't break. Let's just let them run all over us, right? Like when I saw Oregon just running all over them, I thought Ohio State fans have to be nervous as hell because all Michigan does is run the ball. And then Penn State, their quarterback, I don't know who their quarterback coach is, but like Alar threw a couple interceptions. He did not look good. And I thought, man, Ohio State fans have to be nervous because if teams just start pounding the ball on them, then it could be over. But it comes down to like coaching and like bonehead moves. Dan Lanning said that he had a 12 men on the field penalty called because of whatever. Oh, is it going to take the time off the clock? If I was Ryan Day, and the whole time he was distracted by it, yelling 12 men on the field, so maybe it doubly worked. But why wouldn't you take a shot at the end zone there? Right?
I don't know.
It's a free play, right? It's a free play. Maybe the quarterback didn't see it. They threw the flag almost immediately. And I know that the college should change the rules so that they're gonna. I think they're gonna change it, or they already did. The Big Ten might have. I don't know if they could do that in the season, but basically, if there's a penalty on the defense, the clock shouldn't run off. I said it the other week. This happened a while ago because I remember complaining about it, saying like, "Why did the clock run off? That was dumb." And I forget what the scenario was or what game it was, but I thought teams should just do that. It might have been the injury. It might have been last year. I think it was in the Texas-Washington game. Didn't Washington? They ran out of time because like their own guy got hurt or something, and it was something similar to what Oregon did, where they had a dead play, and they did it on purpose, and then the time ran off. But Ohio State still had the play. They could, if they would have completed the pass, they could have declined the penalty, right? So a lot of people were saying, "Oh, it's so genius." It's like, no, it's not. That guy was kind of standing on the right side. How do you know he's not going to confuse the other defenders? Ohio State made the right read. They threw it to the single coverage on the left side. The guy just broke it up because he ran a curl. What if he ran a hitch and go because they would never have expected it, right? With the time on the clock, they're thinking, oh, they're just trying to get in field goal range. They only need a field goal. If he runs a hitch and go, that's a touchdown. And there's no way that extra man on the right side of the field is catching that dude. And heck, even if he doesn't, he just catches it and then runs out of bounds and they kick a field goal from like the 10-yard line. It doesn't matter. Like that's the one thing where Will Howard scrambled, and that's 100% on coaching. They had the helmet comms before the play. 6 seconds left, bro. Throw it. Don't scramble no matter what. Do not scramble. Coaching, 100%. I mean, I know he slid and he was trying to get in field goal range. I feel like they were already like what on the 40, so it would have been like a 50 or 60-yard field goal. Honestly, I think Michigan's kicker might have made it this year. That transfer guy, Zavada, he's been awesome. I told you he's our best guy. So like he didn't need the full 10 yards or whatever he tried to get whenever he slid. Give your kicker a chance. Just slide early. He had to have looked at the clock. It looked like he did because he tried to slide with like 1 second left, but his slide was too slow. He underestimated how fast he was. Or he overestimated, right? Or whatever. He thought he could get the slide done. He couldn't get it in time. But another big game blunder. The Big Ten, though, that was perfect because barely win. So now the poll rankings don't really matter. Penn State barely beats USC. Doesn't matter. Ranked third now, baby. USC is like, wait, we hate this conference. What are we doing?
One of the funniest things I saw over the weekend was Penn State beats a team from California that's 3-2 with needing the help of a field goal issue, and they're like, "Oh, that's great." Pitt beats a team from California that's 3-2 and needs a missed field goal. It's like, oh, that's disgusting. How could you possibly be so bad? And both teams are undefeated.
Didn't the Penn State one go to overtime? I don't think Pitt did it?
Yeah, Pitt didn't. Penn State did.
Dude, I watched the most insane thing at the bar for the Penn State game audio. They must have been pulling from a TV from their side. The audio was 2 seconds ahead from where we were sitting. Like they had a couple games on. And I'm like, I can't focus on the game because I'm hearing, "Aller incomplete," and then I'm watching them drop back, and I'm like, "Well, this is incomplete." Like, it's like a guy. It's like the opposite of the man in the stadium listening on the radio. You know, the radio's like a little bit behind, or whatever. I guess maybe it's not. I don't know. I never tried that. It's not like I'm not born in the '80s. I guess I was kind of born in the '80s, but I wasn't alive like in the stadium doing that. I've seen guys do that. The clip from Donovan Edwards running against Ohio State, they always show the one guy. He's like talking on the phone or listening to the radio and then talking to the guy next to him. Like, did he just score? And it makes me crack up because he looks confused. And I'm like, yeah, you're listening on the radio, buddy. is what it looks like. Or get off your phone and pay attention to the game. Why would you pay for tickets and then be on the phone? Cheer for your team. Goes back to my NFL stuff. Cheering, get some hype going. But the Big Ten's in such a good position now because even though the predictions are saying like, well, the SEC might get more teams in, the perception is that the top Big Ten teams are good now for whatever reason. Why? I don't know. USC beat LSU, that's it. Right? Michigan lost to Texas, but everyone's losing to Texas. So unless Texas loses like 2 or 3 games, the Big Ten's going to be stuck up there at the top. Now, we don't know what will happen going the rest of the year. Will Oregon win the Big Ten? Will Ohio State even make the Big Ten championship now? Because I was telling you before the show, Penn State has a game with them. If Penn State beats them, that gives Ohio State 2 losses. And there's some teams like Indiana, too, that have very light schedules that are undefeated. So, I know Rutgers already has a loss. But I don't know how it will work because they don't play Ohio State, I don't think. So they could, in theory, some other team could win out and you could have 2 undefeated Big Ten teams then just because they didn't play Ohio State or whatever. And that Oregon-Ohio State game matters. Not for the playoffs, but it matters for the Big Ten. And I wonder, too, does it matter for Ohio State's confidence? Maybe the Michigan game will get them their confidence back. But heck, I guess even if they beat Penn State, if Michigan ends up upsetting Ohio State and Penn State only has 1 loss because they don't play Michigan, I guess they'd have to play Oregon. In that scenario, you'd have 1 loss, 1 loss, 1 loss, unless Michigan upsets Ohio State or Oregon. That would be the deciding factor in the championship game. Do I expect Michigan to win any more games? Nah. I'll tune back in next year, see what happens. I'll watch some of the games, unless it turns like, sometimes it's so frustrating to watch an offense that does nothing that it's like, do you want to watch? I was joking because like the Alumni Association calls after every big win for donations, right? Beat USC, they call. And sometimes I just want to text back like, hey, call me after the Ohio State game. Like, let's see how the season really is, buddy. You didn't call me after Texas beat our ass. Did you call me after the Washington loss? No, you didn't call me then. So let's see, or donor relations, whatever group it is that calls. But the Ann Arbor pops up after every big win, and I'm like, no surprise, baby, I'm ready. Although I never answer. I need a good season. We won the national championship, and then Harbaugh left, and the administration didn't really care. They didn't even give him an offer at the celebration for the national championship. Remember the AD was like, "Oh, we want to give Harbaugh a good offer soon. Like that's my number 1 agenda." It's like, buddy, it's been weeks. What are you talking about? So then, of course, I wonder how the donations went for that. Couldn't have been a good bump. You lose the coach. He's in the NFL. Oh, shout out to him. I forgot, dude. He had like a heart issue during the game. They were able to make him come back in. But remember whenever I told you, they said it's been bothering him. It started acting up like around 2017 or 2018. That's when he was acting really weird at Michigan. Remember, people thought he was like on some antidepressant drugs or like something was going on with his marriage or something because he never seemed like he was there. It makes sense that he was having a heart issue or some other health issue, gets it under control, and then Michigan goes on their run because he kind of flipped. It looked like a switch flipped. When he was there the first couple years in Michigan, he was fired up. Michigan was close. Team looked great. And then there was a couple year span where things just weren't good for him. He looked sick. He looked pasty, like didn't have energy, wasn't like excited. And then next thing you know, after COVID, maybe he focused on his health during COVID and got it under control. I don't know. Not allowed to see anybody, right? Might as well just focus on your health. And then after that, he seems like he's been back to his old self. So I hope whatever happened, if that was the issue, I hope he gets it under control and it doesn't affect his NFL season because they were having a good year so far. Way above predictions, right? I saw some predictions where they predicted them to have 6 wins, and that could still happen. But I think they're already at 3 or 4. So I think I still have it up. Yeah, they're 3-2 right now. So I hope that they're able to to pull it off, especially if they can make the playoffs that first year. Because I think I've talked about it on the show. I think Harbaugh was like 6 games away from being in the all-time winning percentage for NFL coaches. All right? I think they had a cutoff of so many games, like 100 games he had to coach. And he was just a little, maybe it's 50 to 100 games. I don't know how many years he was in the NFL. But he had the winning percentage, he just didn't have the total games. And I think after this year, he'll be able to be on that list.
So that would really piss people off.
Yeah, because he is one of the greatest coaches. I mean, he didn't win the Super Bowl yet. But if he does win it, like that kind of just shows ESPN that they're a bunch of idiots. Remember, they were like, he hasn't won at Michigan. He needed the cheat. That makes sense. It's like, no, dude, he's won everywhere he's been. I mean, if he had a heart issue, but he was winning before that anyway. Every year he was beating expectations, it seemed like. People would pick eight wins, they'd be hit 10, and then they would say, well, he just couldn't get it done. And it's like, he beat everyone except like the top-ranked teams, and that's everybody. Look at Ryan Day's record against top-ranked teams, dude. Awful. He has 2 wins, they said, against top 5 teams. One was Clemson in the playoffs, whenever they started their downslide, right? And the other one was that Penn State game. That's it. I really wouldn't consider Clemson and Penn State perennial top 5 teams either. Especially not talent-wise. Ohio State should have been favored against them every time. But
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's just me. That's my Big Ten talk for you. ACC now. Pitt's undefeated.
It was a good week. There was no stress.
Florida State didn't play, right?
Florida State was on a bye.
That's what I was going to say. Pitt's undefeated. You brought it up earlier. What do you think their chances are of them making the conference championship game?
I think it's okay.
They're only 2-0 in the conference, though. They're done with their non-conference, right? So I think they just need the rest. Clemson's already 4-0, though. And Pitt, I don't think Pitt plays anybody, though, right? Oh, no, they do play Clemson at home. Boston College, Louisville, Clemson, Virginia, SMU, and Syracuse. So the schedule's not bad, but it's not really tough either. They could probably beat all of those teams. Miami's the one that... A Pitt-Miami championship game would be hilarious.
I think it'd be hilarious if Pitt beat Miami for the ACC again, for as much as they're just like... They're trying to have the officials help Miami out and do stuff to keep them in the polls. To end up having to lose it to Pitt would be great.
Well, that's what I'm looking at here. Miami doesn't play Clemson or Pitt, so they play Louisville, Florida State, Duke, Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, and Syracuse. So, in basically any terms of Miami right now, they're in the driver's seat. Unless they choke, they should be ready to play Clemson or Pitt in the championship game. Whoever wins that game, although SMU only plays Pitt. They play Stanford, Duke, Pitt, Boston College, Virginia, and Cal. I would say SMU has the easiest path. They don't play Miami or Clemson. So in that scenario, you're going to get a real interesting flip of a coin, because SMU lost to BYU. BYU could win the Big 12. They're the only, I guess they're one of 2 undefeated teams left in that conference, them and Iowa State. Which I find it funny that people are ranking Iowa State number 9. I know they beat Iowa by 1 point, but if you're going to just say hey, Iowa State versus any of the top Big Ten teams, you're not taking Iowa State. I don't care who you are. You're not taking them over Ohio State or Oregon. Cut me a break. I don't even think you would take them over Bama. I don't know what Bama's ranked. Some of the SEC teams that are right around there. Tennessee. I don't think you would take them over Tennessee. Although Tennessee coaching, it's funny, all the coaches that cried about Michigan last year, Tennessee and Missouri, they already have a loss. They looks like they're on the way out. There are only 3 undefeated teams in the SEC, Matt. Can you name them? In the SEC conference itself.
Georgia,
No. You know they lost to Bama.
Vanderbilt.
No. Vanderbilt has one loss. I forget who it was, too. There's someone dumb. You should get Texas, bro. They're number one. Then your old boys' old stomping ground, A&M, and then LSU.
A&M's undefeated right now.
In the SEC, yeah. Who did they lose to? They lost to Notre Dame to start the year.
Oh, okay.
They beat Missouri. That's their toughest game. So they're the ones that knocked Missouri down, and they beat Arkansas. And who else was the third game? Oh, Florida. So they're almost, bro. They only need 5 more wins, and they're in because they only play an 8-game schedule, right? A&M's in the driver's seat right now. And the SEC is looking at their 8-game schedule is so dumb when there's like 30 teams in the conference that, and same with the ACC. The 8-game schedule is so dumb that you're going to almost always have like an extreme amount of ties. Like right now, the SEC has like, what, half their conference, like it would be in 0 or 1 losses right now. So for the Big Ten, you're getting that extra data point. And that's my argument where they're like, well, we want to keep the rivals. Yeah, it's going to be real funny when you're doing coin flips to see who plays the other team in the championship game. Right? That 8-game schedule is going to look awesome. It's going to be real fun. I'm sure everyone looking out is going to laugh. Maybe I'm wrong. This first year, maybe things will kind of smooth its way out. But like, you can't tell me A&M's going to defeat in that conference. 3-0.
No.
Like Texas, maybe. There's a scenario where Texas runs the table, and then you have like a 4 or 5-way tie for second place. And I would love to see it. Heck, Texas might not even have to run the table, and then you could just have a 4 or 5-way tie for your championship game. And if you had one more game, one more data point for the 9-game schedule at least, or I'm still thinking that they're going to do a 10-game schedule. Whether it's going to be the 10th game is a Big Ten SEC crossover game, and then 2 warm-ups.
I am surprised though that Texas has been playing as well as what they have been these last 2 years.
It's Quinn Ewers, dude. Quinn Ewers is awesome. If you have a great quarterback in college, he's been great. Ohio State has to be kicking themselves, dude. They ran him out of town. If they would have I don't even know what they needed to do to keep him. But if they would have kept him right now, their situation would have went from what, C.J. Stroud to Quinn Ewers? Who was their quarterback last year? It wasn't Stroud, was it?
No.
I can't even remember. When you're on the playoffs, man, you just forget. All these guys Michigan is just beating. Oh, no, it was McCord, right? He went to Syracuse now.
Yeah.
So they had Ewers. If they would have been able to keep him, now, of course I didn't want that to happen because he's been insane. Even when he went out, Texas didn't look that good. And remember, people were saying, like, oh, maybe you just put Bama when they beat Georgia. Maybe they should be number 1, right? And then Quinn Ewers came back and crushed Oklahoma, and everyone's like, all right, well, okay. It's just a different thing. When you have a top quarterback, like even like Michigan with JJ, if you have a guy that can get out of the pocket, make plays, if you just go back and watch the Michigan tape, I think Quinn Ewers almost broke Michigan. The defense was top. He kind of exposed them. And now Michigan's defense has been struggling since he showed kind of a blueprint of, hey, just like look for the checkdowns or whatever he was doing. It worked. Unstoppable. It happened with Michigan when they played Georgia that one year. The defense just got shredded. Like they were exposed. And then after that, Michigan had some trouble, and then they had to make some adjustments. But here, Texas quarterback, as long as Quinn Ewers is healthy, I mean, I hate giving the Heisman just to a quarterback, but he's the only guy. He went down, and their team went down. He came back, the team perked right back up. That's the mark of a Heisman guy. Travis Hunter, he got hurt. I don't know how serious his was, right? Didn't Colorado lose like 3 guys to injury? Like their entire receiving core?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll call the NCAA and see if I have eligibility. I'm probably only in shape for like 2 or 3 routes a drive, though. Well, their drives don't last that long, so maybe I'll be all right. And then, who knows? After that, they have that Boise State kid, the running back. Based on stats alone, he should win it. He had like Blake Corum stats, and they're only like halfway through the season, right? I think he's on pace to break Barry Sanders' record. Which, if that happens and they give the Heisman to just some random quarterback, they should just get rid of the Heisman. We'll never talk about it on the show again, unless of course the Michigan guy wins it, right? I would say Florida State, but let's focus on getting bowl eligible first, man.
There we go. Baby steps.
I mean, Michigan won the championship. We didn't even have a guy. We have had guys come close. Jabril Peppers, Aiden Hutchinson. They're just not quarterbacks, right? That's the thing everyone's talking about. Like, Lincoln Riley has all these quarterbacks in the league. While his team has, they're ranked like 30th. That's like, okay, awesome, coach. Do you want it? It's a perfect system. That's why should be saying, like, hey, is Lincoln Riley like a system quarterback guy? I mean, Baker's good. Browns fans have to be so mad that they got rid of Baker. I was upset when it happened. I said it was a dumb move. Why would you take a guy that's been out of the league for molesting and then give up your guy that just got you the AFC Championship game, right? He's still fighting lawsuits. You can't tell me that's a distraction. That's not a distraction. I mean, I never fought a lawsuit like that, but come on. That has to take something out of you.
Yeah, you would think.
But I think that's pretty much all I had this week. Some random college stuff. Michigan was on a bye too, so I didn't really have anything other than it was good. I watched the rest of that Connor Stalions documentation. He talked about coaching in high school and how he's still doing crazy things, like analytics-wise, where he knows his team's undersized, so he's waiting, running the clock out on every drive, and then having his guys run up to the ball with an unbalanced line, so the defense has to hurry up and get set, and they don't know what the formation is going to be, and they're just hurry up and hiking it, almost like a huddle version of the high tempo. And I thought, what if Michigan did that? Remember when they did the train, and coaches complained about the train formation? They were like, that should be illegal, blah, blah, you can't do that, men in the field or whatever. Like, if Harbaugh had just got the guys run up to the line of scrimmage and then hike the ball before the defense could get set, I guarantee there had been some type of defensive adjustment rule put in place. But Science, he's banned, so they can't bring that type of ingenuity back to the college football. I don't know. Did he get a show cause? They never really said what he got. Just a documentary. They got a documentary out of it. That's what he got. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think that's about it.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.